After sitting through what was a clunker of a first semifinal college football playoff game at the Rose Bowl, we got what we had hoped for when this 14 playoff was determined. We got a classic. At the Sugar Bowl in the national semifinal number 2, Ohio State outlasted Alabama 42-35. The Buckeyes at times dominated this game. They didn't dominate the entire game. It was a very close game between two worthy teams out of the SEC and the Big Ten. And I think it needs to be noted after the day the Big Ten had, and really the entirety of the bowl season, yes, a worthy team out of the Big Ten. Buckeyes, again, at times, dominated this game in spurts. They led in yardage 537 to 407. There was a time early in the game when they were running all over Alabama. The yardage was like 3 to 4 to 1, something in that range. But they had the two costly turnovers. They had the Cardale Jones interception in which he had the miscommunication with Devin Smith, and then also the Ezekiel Elliott fumble when they were moving the ball again. Alabama capitalized on those turnovers, and it was despite Buckeyes leading again in total yardage 3 or 4 to 1. Bama led this thing 14-6. They extended that lead to 21-6. And at that point, Cardale Jones was basically dropping back to pass. And when the pass rush was getting to him, he would kind of double hitch, and he was being indecisive. Early in the game, when the play wasn't there, he was throwing it away. Later, I think he felt a little bit of pressure when it got to be 14-6, 21-6 to make some plays. He tried to bounce it out of the pocket. He got wrapped up for some sacks. He made some risky throws. And there was a time when this ball game was very much in doubt that Ohio State could keep it close. Again, 21-6 at that point. Credit the Ohio State defense for keeping it close. Okay, some things that jump out. Again, Cardale Jones, not the most proficient passer, but all credit goes to this kid just again to redocument what he's been through and what he's had to face and how he's responded. 0 starts, 0 meaningful passes. Takes on a Wisconsin team that we saw again reestablish itself as a strong football team and football program. Not a 59-0, we got drubbed in a bad conference championship game. No, a team that beat Auburn again today, a team that has a top-flight defense, and he ripped them apart. Okay, he faced no adversity in that game. They led from the opening drive. Everything smooth sailing. Nice clean pocket. Not so much tonight. He faced tons of adversity. How would he respond? We talked about this in our previews, our mini previews. How would Cardale Jones respond in regards to game situation adversity? Down 10. Got to make a drive. He was down 15 in this game. Also the adversity of the pass rush and the defensive schemes, the design of the defense, the complexity of the coverages. How would he respond? Well, he was given simple instructions by Tom Herman, Ohio State offensive coordinator, and Nick Saban, and Urban Meyer, rather, to go through his progressions and then tuck it and run or throw it away. Don't make any risky passes, and for the most part, he played it well. The one pick was costly at the time. Again, contributed to that 21-6 deficit that Bama, 78 out of 80 times, has held on to under Nick Saban. But this is a much very different Ohio State team than most of those Bama teams that had trailed or not given up a 2-touchdown lead. Evan Spencer made what, in a game filled of highlight-type plays, Evan Spencer, the wide receiver pass where he threw a bullet. So typically, as we all know as football fans, these trick plays are designed for these running backs and these wide receivers to trick the defense so they've got an easy pass to make. The play's wide open so that being not accurate, precision passers, that they can just float it down there or just hit the wide open guy on the other side of the field. But this one turned out that Bama covered it, and Evan Spencer still zipped it to the sideline, and Michael Thomas, the kid out of Los Angeles, made a remarkable catch, high-pointing the football and having the awareness and the athletic ridiculousness to be able to contort his foot to keep it in bounds. That was an amazing play. I was surprised, as now has become, a main theme of this bowl season against the SEC its best teams getting trashed defensively, talking LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, now Alabama, Auburn as well against Melvin Gordon, 251 on the ground. Ezekiel Elliott annihilated the Alabama defense. And in particular, when the game was getting a little bit out of hand on Alabama's side at 21-6, Ohio State had gotten away from the running game. I was wondering at that point why they weren't running Zeke Elliott. Well, they got back to him in a big way. Of course, the 85-yard run pretty much put the game away with about 3.5 minutes left with a 2-touchdown lead at that point, although Bama would, of course, take its shots, score very quickly, get the ball back, and take some shots at the end zone. Zeke, 20 carries for 230. In a conference that has the best running backs in college football, Melvin Gordon, Tevin Coleman, Amir Abdullah, those guys. David Cobb's a really good back from Minnesota, one of the top 10 or 15 backs in college football. Ezekiel Elliott, one of the best. Jeremy Langford in the Big Ten as well. He was amazing. Amari Cooper caught 2 touchdown passes. He caught 9 passes, but key for the Buckeyes, 71 yards, less than 8 yards per catch. And that was the big fear out of the Buckeye Nation, was Amari Cooper getting loose. Amari Cooper being a one-on-one, and even with safety help at getting there late, Cooper navigating the holes in the zone. He's so proficient at finding the holes in the zone or beating man-to-man. Whatever you do with him, he's just going to be very tough to deal with. And he did what he could in this one, but they didn't let him loose at all. Again, the 2 touchdown receptions, but 9 for 71 out of him. Derrick Henry showed to be a man. Again, his future as an Alabama #1 back is bright. 13 carries, 95 yards, but the Buckeyes kept it under control. He had the 25-yard touchdown after the Zeke Elliott fumble that got the Tide on the board at 7-3 at that point. And he had some nice runs, broke it open, but they kept him contained. He didn't rip off the 50-yarders like Zeke Elliott, 13 for 95. TJ Yeldon, we talked about him being nicked up coming up into this game, but they got him a couple series where they relied on him. Yeldon scored a touchdown and went 10 for 47. Third down conversions, you would think that the veteran fifth-year senior who's played the entire season of 14 games would have been more proficient than the kid that's basically starting his second game and is seeing this caliber of defense for the first time. But it was Blake Sims not being able to convert on third down, where Ohio State 10 out of 18 on third downs. Yes, again, the offense is maybe the best in college football. We may see the best against the second best next weekend at Cowboys Stadium for the national championship game. It was key early that the Buckeyes were held to 2 field goals when they were in the red zone. When the field was squeezed down, they struggled a little bit. I thought that was going to be a theme of the game for Cardale Jones and could be their undoing, but they played much better and were more proficient in the red zone the second half. The Ohio State defense, give credit to the Buckeye defense when for 3 consecutive possessions, Alabama, because J.K. Scott is such an awesome punter, pinned them down inside the 5. They couldn't get a first down. They had their punter on the back end line of the end zone, had to punt it out the one time to the 23-yard line. That's it, like a 21-yard punt. And then Von Bell came up with the big interception to stop that drive. But 3 consecutive drives, Alabama was on Ohio State plus territory, and the Buckeyes defense held them out. That was key. Michael Bennett in the middle for Ohio State against the run was key. He gets a pass rush as well. Adolphus Washington. We all know about Joey Bosa. Steve Miller with the INT pick 6. But also Steve Miller was tough against the run and providing pressure against Blake Sims. Deron Lee, we saw him in the postgame. He is a monster as a sophomore. What an athletic, gifted player. Had 3 tackles for loss and 2 sacks in this game. And again, in the secondary, most notably Curtis Grant, Von Bell, and Eli Apple doing yeoman's work for the Buckeyes. Statement win for Ohio State and the Big Ten on a good day for the Big Ten. That's another subject for another time. This focusing on Ohio State, Alabama. Let's talk it up. We invite your comments on the Sugar Bowl. again, the Buckeyes and the Tide, and looking forward to next week's national championship game right here on Mark Rogers TV.